Playinground by Susan Hutchins. Chapter 4. Mr. Roberts is busy unpacking the midday edition of the Evening Post when Linda arrives for work. Eager to get on with her jobs, she gives him a cursory wave and hurries past the counter. He calls her name. She turns to look at him and he leaves what he's doing to walk over to her. "I'd like you to clean my bedroom," he says. Then, sounding rather embarrassed, he adds, "I've a friend coming to stay. A girlfriend. Of course, I'll pay you extra." Mr. Roberts' bedroom is in the attic. Linda is employed to clean the downstairs room of his living quarters and has never ventured to the top of the building, not even to have a peek. It isn't because she respects his privacy. She's as nosy as anyone else. What puts her off is the strong smell of excrement wafting down the stairs. She can only guess that the cause of the stink comes from Mr. Roberts' two Alsatians. The dogs are kept in the shop when she cleans the flat. They seem to be well behaved and always give her a friendly sniff, but she's glad they're kept out of her way. A sink piled high with greasy dishes, a filthy toilet, the revolting feel of cold grey bathwater when she pulls dog hairs from the plug hole is enough to contend with. She won't refuse to clean the rooms. Mr. Robert pays well, and she could do with the extra money. If only it didn't interfere with her plan. The day is baking hot and she wanted to get home and have a bath before collecting the boys from school. Mr. Roberts is waiting for a reply, so she smiles and says, "Okay, I'll go up now." She leaves the shop, climbs the stairs to the flat, then ignoring the smell she goes up to the attic to assess what needs doing. The landing is dark. Something soft and slippery is beneath her feet. She feels for the light switch. Barefoot and carrying her shoes, she goes back down the stairs and into the shop. She waits for Mr. Roberts to finish serving, then beckons him over. Not wanting anyone to hear, she shows him the soles of her shoes and whispers, "It's the dogs. There's mess everywhere. It's all over the carpet. Look at them. They're filthy. There's a limit to what I can do." She half expected him to tell her he'll find someone else and is unprepared when he says, "Yes, it's a bit of a mess. I'm sorry." He puts his hand in his pocket, pulls out a fistful of coins and puts them next to the till. "Give them to me," he says as he takes the shoes from her. "Keep an eye on the shop. There's enough change to keep you going." She quite enjoys the few minutes spent behind the counter. She sells a couple of newspapers and is about to add the money for a crunchy bar to the loose coins when Mr. Robert calls her name. She turns to look at him. He is standing in the doorway, holding her shoes. He beckons her over and she leaves the counter. "See, spotless," he tells her as she takes the shoes from him. "Sorry about that," he says. "I know I'm a slob, but as soon as the last customer leaves, I'm going to pull up the carpets and get rid of them. Look, do me a favour. Give the kitchen and bathroom a bit of a rub and take the rest of the afternoon off." Linda arrives home half an hour earlier than usual. What with the long walk as well as the sweltering heat, she is tired. With the aim of having a cool bath foremost in her mind, she puts the key into the latch and goes into the house. Not having the energy to hurry, she takes her time climbing the stairs. He's halfway up the last flight when she hears the jets blasting from the gas greaser and the sound of pouring water. She had been hoping that at this hour the Greco family would be at work, but is not surprised. Sharing the bathroom with a family of 4 means you can't rely on it being vacant. Disappointed, she carries on up the stairs and lets herself into the flat. She goes into the bedroom, gathers together her towel and toiletries and carries them to the kitchen. The kitchen and the bathroom share an ineffective party wall that allows the softest sound to be heard, which can be unpleasant, especially during mealtimes. With her ears alert to any noise that suggests the bathroom is being vacated, she takes the tin of corned beef, a sliced loaf and a slab of margarine from the cupboard. She prepares the sandwiches, fills a bottle with water, then puts them into a string bag, ready for the picnic. The sound of splashing suggests the person who is in the bath will be a while, so Linda goes back into the bedroom and removes her essay book from the dressing table drawer. She sits at the kitchen table, is just about to start this month's writing assignment when the sound of water gurgling through the pipes makes her jump up. She quickly picks up a towel and toiletries, takes the essay book back to the dressing room table drawer, then hurries onto the landing to wait for the bathroom door to open. With her hair still damp from her bath and wearing a freshly laundered yellow sundress, Linda taps on Mrs. Jones' door. "My, you do look lovely," says Mrs. Jones when she answers. Are you going anywhere nice?" "Just to school to pick up Ben and his friend. We're having a picnic in the park. I finished work a bit earlier today, so I thought I'd pop in and say hello." "That's nice, dear, but I'm about to go out myself. My friend Mrs. Pugh invited me for tea. I'd love to chat, but I was supposed to have been there 5 minutes ago." "Well, I won't disturb you. Have a nice time." "You too, dear. Tell Ben I'm looking forward to seeing him in the morning." "I will." When she leaves the house, Linda has a whole extra 10 minutes in front of her. It's a rarity. Usually she almost has to run the distance to the school. More often than not, she is wearing the clothes she's been working in, has hardly had time enough to put a comb through her hair. Today she is walking at a leisurely pace. A red string bag swings from her arm. Her hair falls across her shoulders and down the back of her yellow sundress like seaweed on the sand. At first glance, the playground appears to be almost empty. Then Linda casts her eye around and can see that in every bit of shade, however small, women are sheltering from the sun. Some huddle beneath the beech tree. Others try to squeeze a bit of shade from the dying privet. Half a dozen or more have retreated to the shadow of the caretaker's wooden shed. Carol Cook and a group of friends have commandeered the dark patch next to the girls' toilet block. Before Linda has time to move out of sight, Carol spots her and beckons her over. Wishing she had arrived at her accustomed last-minute time, Linda goes to where they have gathered and stands listening to their conversation. "The heat's killing me." "Me too. It's too hot to go anywhere near a stove. I rang Edward and told him we're eating out this evening, children and all. We're living on salads. I never thought I'd long to see a cloud. The government's saying water's only to be used for drinking, washing and toilets. My garden's dead. Not even the weeds can survive. Millions of pounds worth of crops are failing. The price of food is going sky high. A wood caught fire in Cornwall. Some parts of the country have standpipes. Oh God, the last thing I want to do is queue for a bucket of water. Nobody will be queuing for anything if the reservoirs dry up." They shake their heads. He sighs of despair. Carol looks towards the school gate. "Pattie's late." "She's not coming," Linda tells her. "I'm taking Dylan and Ben to the park." With that, the school door opens and a stream of children pour out onto the playground. The women disperse and move towards the children. Linda spots Ben pushing his way towards her. Dylan is at his side. "Have you seen Dylan's mum?" asks Ben. Linda looks at Dylan. "She had to go out. You're coming to the park with us. Is that okay?" "Ben, Dylan, come back. Wait for me." The park is a 5-minute walk from the school. It's not exactly a park. There are no swings or slides. What it does offer is a large square of grass enclosed by a low stone wall. Trees and shrubs make it a good place for hide and seek. Someone has tied a rope to the branch of an old oak tree. 100 or so years ago, the 4-storey houses that surround the green space would have been home to the wealthy. Now the people who live in them are a mix of white-collared workers and working classes. Those that enjoy the little oasis are mainly mothers and children with no garden of their own. Dylan and Ben make a beeline for the rope. Linda sits under a tree. The grass has almost disappeared. In its place are dry patches of earth, cracks that could swallow a bird. Linda watches the boys, but her mind is elsewhere. Brian will be home this evening. As always, she wonders what mood he will be in. Thankfully, he will be away again in the morning, but only for one night. He'll be back on Friday, and she will have to suffer his tyrannies until he leaves on Monday morning. Weekdays. Only she knows how much she hates them. She takes her eyes from the boys, lies with her back on the ground, gazing into the tree's branches, picturing the home she hopes to eventually find for her and Ben. The ground floor flat with 2 bedrooms, a garden where Ben can play. She's thinking about flowers and what she will plant when she hears Ben say, "You said we could have ice cream." She says, "Sandwiches first," she says, pulling the string bag towards her. She hands the boys their sandwiches. In between bites, they tell her about school play. "Miss Clark said we have to bring food and a drink. It'll be funny having our tea in the school. Miss Clark says to tell our mums and dads to come early. They're expecting a lot of people." "Is your dad coming?" asked Dylan. Ben looks at Linda. "Is he?" She's not sure how to answer. Brian thinks anything to do with children in school should be left entirely to women. "You'll have to ask him. Hurry up and finish that sandwich, then we'll buy those ice creams." She hasn't realised how late it was until she noticed the clock in the shop. 5:15. Brian will be home at 6. "Hurry, boys, make up your minds," she tells them. They dither between wanting ice cream and lollies. In the end, she asks for 2 cornets. She watches the shop assistants take 2 small cubes from the freezer, waits while she takes off the silver paper. Linda looks at the clock again, taps a finger on the counter as the girl puts the ice creams into the cornets. Linda pays for them, then ushers the boys out onto the pavement. She waits at the corner of the road while they catch up with her. "Come on," she calls. "Daddy will wonder where we are." Licking their ice creams, they follow her across the road. She chivies them along as they make their way to Dylan's house. She had expected Pattie to open the door, is unprepared to see Andrew standing in the doorway. Before either of them has time to speak, Dylan pushes past Andrew, saying, "Come on, Ben, I want to show you my chopper." In a flash, Ben is through the porch, into the house and out of sight. "I'm sorry," says Linda, "we can't stop. Do you mind getting Ben? We have to go." They'll be in the garden. Dylan wants to show Ben his bike since he got it. "I was just about to make coffee. Would you like one?" There's something about Andrew that makes her want to stay. Despite the need to get Ben and go, the words, "Okay, but I can't be long," escape her mouth. This is the first time she's been invited into the house. She and Pattie always part company at the corner of the road. She steps inside and follows Andrew into the kitchen. He pulls a chair from the table, asking, "How do you like your coffee?" Linda sits listening to the kettle's whistle, the clatter of crockery and cutlery as she gazes around her. From what she's seen of the house, she's surprised how devoid of colour and paraphernalia it is. Other than Dylan's paintings tacked onto the plain magnolia walls, there's nothing else. Pattie has told Linda she likes to visit art galleries, which is why Linda thought the house would be full of artwork. Andrew puts 2 mugs of coffee onto the table, then goes to a cupboard. Linda tries to think of something to say, something clever, something that will make him like her. The sound of the boys' laughter coming through the open window causes her to say, "They sound like they're having a good time." Andrew puts a biscuit barrel onto the table, then goes to the window. Ignoring the urge to join him, Linda watches him as he stands looking out at the boys. Their eyes meet when he turns away from the window and he walks towards her, saying, Ben must come again." Sitting opposite her, he adds, "They're in high spirits. What with the holidays and the play, they don't know how to contain themselves. Is your husband going? To the play?" "I'm not sure. It depends if he's working." She chooses not to discuss the fact that Brian would rather be in a pub than at a school play. "What about you?" she asks. "Yes, I'll be there." There's a lull in the conversation. They pick up their mugs, sit sipping at their drinks. Feeling the need to break the silence, Linda puts her mugs onto the table, saying, "I wish the weather would change. It's hotter than ever." He nods. "Yes, it's getting everyone down. We're all praying for rain, or at least a cool breeze." Pattie said you might be going to Ireland during the holiday. She told me about her parents' house. It sounds lovely, high on a cliff overlooking the sea. They'll have plenty of cool breezes there. Pattie might take Dylan, though she says that every year. The last time they went was in 73. What about you? Have you got anything planned? "No, I'm working. Ben will spend a few days with my mother. He loves going there. She spoils him rotten." The sound of a car on the gravel drive distracts him. A flicker of annoyance crosses his face as he stands up. "Pattie's here. I must get on. I'll see you at the play." "Yes, I'll see you there." He leaves the room. She notices his drink is hardly touched, has been left on the table. She looks at the clock, 10 minutes past 6, and walks to the window. Pattie's car is on the drive. She puts her head through the open window. "Ben, we must go."